like to thank everybody for attending the Winter City Council meeting for Monday, May 1st, 2023. The City of Winter at this time will do roll call.
Councilman Burns.
Here.
Councilman Clay.
Here.
Councilman Hockett.
Here.
Councilman Clunt.
Here.
Councilman Schramm.
Here.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Here.
All are accounted for. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council will have two different sections tonight, one for old business and one for new business after the new council is seated. Under old business, are there any conflict of interest? Hearing none, Chair will move on to old business consent agenda. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda under old business.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to approve the consent agenda under old business. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Clunt. Floor is open to comment. Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of approving old business consent agenda, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this consent agenda under old business passes with a majority 6-0 vote. Council, having had a chance to review the old business agenda, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the old business agenda.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Burns has made a motion to approve the old business agenda. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. Floor is open to comments, questions. Hearing none. Chair calls the question. All those in favor of approving the old business agenda, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. Council, under old business tonight, there's one item to be considered. Is there a motion on item number 1 under old business?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for second reading, passage and approval of ordinance 1049, Finance Officer Pre-Authorization of Expenditures.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to place on second reading for passage and approval ordinance 1049, Finance Officer Pre-Authorization for Expenditures. Councilman Schramm has seconded the motion. This floor is open for comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Burns?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Yes.
Councilman Clunt?
Yes.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
And Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously 6-0. The City of Winter now moves on to our oath of office. Prior to doing that, though, the City of Winter would like to take a moment to recognize one of our departing councilmen. Councilman Jack Burns has graduated, according to the plaque. But I personally, and I think all of you probably expressed this to Councilman Burns also, it has been a wonderful 3 years, Jack. I knew how much you wanted to be a part of the City of Winter and contribute, and there have been comments where you felt that maybe you hadn't, but you have no idea how much you have put into the city of Winter. It came at a time when the city council needed somebody that had your understanding, your knowledge, your willingness to work with this council and these appointed officials and these employees to make Winter a better place. Your 3 years, the city of Winter is better, and it is because of your personal service to the city of Winter, and I thank you. And we don't have Councilor Dan here, but I would like to get you out here right in front, Mr. Burns. We can limp out there together and put you on camera. We're going to put you right in front of the camera, right here, so everybody can see you out there. Councilman Burns, once a councilman, always a councilman. You've been outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chandra would like a shot with you.
It's for Dan.
For Dan, what kind of shot? Yeah, well, remember, public input. And at this point, we also retired the placard and move on. You do not have to. You can stay at golf tee times. They'll be there when you get there.
Thanks, Jack.
See you later.
At this time, the city of Winter will move on to our oath of office for the 3 elected representatives. First oath of office, which will happen in the same spot as the picture, please. We'll put you right out in front of the camera there, Mr. Jensen.
Is it all right, Mr. Mayor, if we just do all 3 together?
You certainly may. Ward 1, Chase Frank. Ward 2, Jeremy Clay. And Ward 3, Brad Schramm.
Mr. Schramm, would it be more comfortable if you just stay there? Are you okay coming?
I can do anything you want.
All right,
Backslide.
we'll do it out here. Chase, you want to come over there? Perfect. 3 of you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Jeremy Clay,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota.
and that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of council member
the duties of council member
of the city of Winter, Tripp County, South Dakota,
of the city of Winter, Tripp County, South Dakota,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Frank, welcome aboard. I'll need your signature. I do. You know where to go. Mr. Clay. Sir, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Schramm.
These 2 positions.
Welcome aboard.
As mayor of the city of Winter, I have now taken nominations from the Winter City Council for your council president. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion.
I would,
Councilman Clay has the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to nominate esteemed Joe Hockett as council president.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make,
Oh, that's just a nomination, sure.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that all nominations cease.
No,
I thought I had a motion mic'd up, ready to rock as soon as you made your
he
motion.
did.
Okay.
Councilman Hockett,
I would make a motion. Honorable Mr. Klunt he's been around a long time.
to be the council president.
Councilman Hockett has made a motion to nominate Austin Klunt as council president. Are there any other nominations? Austin, you want to throw one out now?
I'd make a motion nomination cease.
Councilman Schramm has made a motion, all nominations cease. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Councilman, I'm going to give it to Councilman Sprinkle, it was close, that all nominations have ceased. At this time, we will have an election by a show of hands.
You actually just need a motion. Somebody has to-
Oh, yeah, actually, you just make a motion on these two nominations now, correct?
you need to make the first motion, and then you vote on it as to whoever you want to be council president.
Yes.
I don't understand, but I'll make a motion that Austin Klunt's the council president.
Is there a second? Councilman Schramm, was that a second?
Yes.
Councilman Clay has made a motion that Austin Klunt is nominated as council president. Council Schramm has seconded that motion. Floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of electing Councilman Klunt as council president, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Austin Klunt is your City of Winter Council President. Council,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to try this again. I'd like to make a motion that nominate esteemed Joe Hockett as the council vice president.
Councilman Clay has made a motion of Joe Hockett as the council vice president. Are there any other nominations?
I'll make a motion. Nomination ceased.
Councilman Sprinkle has made a motion that all other nominations cease. Is there a second to that
Second
motion?
that, and we cast a unanimous ballot.
That would be part of the same motion.
Very good. Councilman Sprinkle has made a motion that all motions cease and cast a unanimous ballot. Councilman Schramm has seconded that motion. Joe Hockett is your elected council vice president.
You haven't had a vote on your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is just odd tonight. All those in favor of the motion, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Moving on. Council, as mayor, I make as appointment for the City of Winter as the city attorney, Mr. Paul Jensen. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Councilman Klunt has made a motion to approve the appointment of City Attorney Paul Jensen. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions.
I would like to ask for a roll call vote on all the political appointments.
Very good. I can grant
would be
that.
fine, okay.
Hearing that, Chair will honor the request of roll call votes on all the appointments. On the appointment of City Attorney Paul Jensen, Councilman Klunt,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 7, Council. As mayor, I appoint as our Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day. Is there a motion?
I will make that motion to appoint Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hockett has made a motion for the appointment of Public Safety Commissioner Justin Day. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Klunt. Floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will implement a roll call vote. Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
No.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm. Councilman Clint.
Yes.
The ayes have it with a majority, 5-1 vote. Item number 8, council. As mayor, I appoint as city finance officer Chandra Phillips. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clunt has made a motion to approve the appointment of city finance officer as Chandra Phillips. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. The floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clint.
Yes.
And Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 9, as mayor, I make the appointment of City Public Works Director as Troy Kruger. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Councilman Hockett has made a motion to approve the appointment of City Public Works Director as Troy Kruger. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Clint. The floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Clint?
Yes.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 10, as mayor, I make the appointment of the city engineer as DGR Engineering. Is there a motion on this appointment?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clunt has made the motion to approve the appointment of DGR Engineering. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Is this appointment contingent on getting a better representative to serve the city of Winter? Fair question.
I think we have the best we can.
It is not.
A lighthearted moment. Hearing no comments, relevant comments or questions. Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clunt.
Yes.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
And Councilman Frank.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Council, I have presented to you tonight an appointment of the committees for the city of Winter, and they have been reworked. This appointment is only for the members of the committee. On the Personnel and Union Committee, as mayor, I appoint Ron Sprinkle and Chase Frank. On the Finance and Admin Building Committee, I nominate Austin Clunt and Jeremy Clay. For the Police 911 and Fire Committee, I nominate Joe Hockett and Ron Sprinkle. For the Electrical Utility Committee, I nominate Jeremy Clay and Ron Sprinkle. For the Parks and Cemetery Committee, I nominate Brad Schramm and Chase Frank. For Street Sanitation and Airport, I nominate Joe Hockett and Jeremy Clay to the committee. For Water and Sewer, I nominate Austin Clunt and Chase Frank for the committee. For the Ordinance and Policy Committee, I nominate Brad Schramm and Austin Clunt. And the final committee for the City of Winter is Corrections and Code Enforcement. And I nominate Joe Hockett and Brad Schramm. Council, is there a motion to these committee appointments?
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve those appointments.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to approve the appointments to the committee as presented. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Klent?
Yes.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Aye.
Councilman Frank?
Yes.
And Councilman Clay?
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. In your packets, you have my nominees for the appointment of the Board of Appeals for the City of Winter. That committee, or that board, shall be made up of Brian Schrader, Steve Nielsen, Craig Curtis, Dr. Mary Carpenter, Patricia Novak, and Craig Schaefer. Council, is there a motion on these nominees for the Board of Appeals?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Close. Councilman Klunt has made the motion to approve the Board of Appeals nominations. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Sprinkle. Floor is open to comments or questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Klunt?
Yes.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
Yes.
And Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously to approve the Board of Appeals. Item number 13. As mayor, I nominate for appointment Jim Day for the Planning Commission for a 5-year term. Council, is there a motion on this nominee?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve that nomination.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Councilman Clay has made the motion to approve the appointment of Jim Day to the Planning Commission for a 5-year term. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak to this?
Yes, please.
So as you all know, our Planning Commission has gone through quite a few changes in the last few years. We were able to finally come up with, the last time it was edited, an actual schedule from 2021. So after myself and Chelsea Luce, the Planning Commission, you know what she does.
Zoning
Sorry.
director.
Thank you, zoning director. Ultimately, the last position that was filled was the one that was actually up for reappointment this year. So we now have them all on a schedule and everything is good.
If there are no other comments or questions, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Schramm,
Aye.
and Councilman Klein.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously 6-0. And at this time, I would inform council there is no other appointment. There is one position that remains open at this time on the Planning Commission for a 5-year term. That seat will remain vacant until I have a nominee for you at that time. And that concludes the oath of office, election of council president and vice president, and the appointees to the different boards and committees for the city of Winter. We now move into the new business agenda. And at this time, council, with the new seated council, I must ask, are there any conflicts of interest in this agenda? Seeing and hearing none, Chair will move on to the consent agenda for the new business agenda. Council, under This consent agenda, there is the resignation of Chanel Herman from the Corrections Department and the resignation of Billy Sims from the Streets and Sanitation Department. Council, is there a motion on this consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Hockett has made the motion to approve the consent agenda. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Clunt. Floor is open to questions. Hearing none, Chair calls the question. All those in favor of approving the new business consent agenda, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. Council, having had time to review your packets, is there a motion on the new business or the new agenda? The new business agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the new business agenda.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay has made the motion to approve the new business agenda. Councilman Clunt has seconded that motion. Floor is open to comments, questions. Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of approving the new business agenda, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. So we move along. City of Winter now moves on to recognition of visitors and communications from the City of Winter. As with all city council meetings, there's a 10-minute window for public input for anybody to address the city council here in Winter. Is there any public input? Hearing, seeing no public input, we'll move on. The City of Winter's first communication comes from the finance officer on the fuel bids.
Fuel bids on 419 were awarded to number 2 dyed diesel, Ball and Oil, number 1 diesel, Ball and Oil, 50/50, Ball and Oil, regular unleaded, Ball and Oil, propane, CHS, fuel oil, Ball and Oil. On April 26th, they were awarded to number 2 dyed diesel, Ball and Oil, number 1 diesel, Ball and Oil, 50/50, Ball and Oil, regular unleaded, Ball and Oil, propane, CHS, fuel oil, Ball and Oil.
City of Winter will now move on to communications of new hires. That will come from the finance office and HR director, Chandra Phillips.
Under the police department, Ben Connett has been awarded a non-certified police officer position full-time at a starting wage of $20.92 and full benefits. Brian Snow has been offered a part-time sanitation position at $18.85 per hour with no benefits. Chasten Kemp has been offered a part-time corrections officer at $19.65 an hour with no benefits. Charles York has been offered a part-time position in sanitation at $19.65. Actually, I believe that's $18.85. He'd be the same as Brian Snow, with no benefits.
Should be 1885.
I do believe so.
Yeah, that's starting wage scale.
And then 2 more part-time, no benefits under the jail, and that would be Chanel Herman at $19.65 and Cody Whedon at $19.65.
3 more communications from the City of Winter. The first communication that I would like to make is to council-appointed supervisors and the public. In an effort to maintain the City of Winter as transparently as we possibly can at all times, the City of Winter will now open all committees to the public. All committee meetings will happen here in city chambers, and they will be recorded. They will be posted to the YouTube page for the City of Winter so that anybody can go back and take a look at these meetings. We will focus on budget, oversight, policies, and procedures. The City of Winter is now going into budget season for the City of Winter. The months of May, June, July, and August, we will meet on our rotating schedule every 2 weeks. Every council member will be in 3 committees in a 2-week period, 6 in a month, where they work with the different appointed supervisors and supervisors and appointed officials to put together a budget for the City of Winter. These meetings will also be transcribed by notes. We'll have notes still that we post to our city Facebook page and to the city website. They will not be live streamed, but they will be available to go back and reference at any time. The second communication that I would like to address to the City of Winter and personnel and council. The finance office is going to be closed to non-personnel. This will include the public, city personnel, and elected councilmen. The finance window, as before, will remain open to the public. Anyone may call and schedule an appointment and meet in the council meeting room with the city finance officer to address any questions that they have, or with the appropriate supervisor from the finance officer to address their issue. This is a concerted effort to respect and make time in the daily schedule of the employees in the finance office. Final communication that I have from the City of Winter tonight. The City of Winter would like to take a moment to express our condolences for the family of Mayor Frank Finney, who has passed as of this morning. City of Winter will now move on. There are no department reports from appointed officials this evening. There are no bid openings. There are no public hearings and no Board of Adjustments for this new business agenda. Under new business tonight, there are 12 items listed for action. Item number 1, council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjust the wages of Marty Peterson as the Park Cemetery Superintendent to the correct starting wage of $54,100.80, effective April 17th, 2023.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Clunt has made the motion to adjust the wages of Marty Peterson as the Parks and Cemetery Superintendent to the correct starting wage of $54,100.80, effective April 17th, 2023. Councilman Hockett has the second on this motion. The floor is open to comments or questions, if there are any.
If I may, I'd like to take a moment to apologize to both the public, to Mr. Peterson, and to council for this. I was dyslexic, and so last meeting, your motion was actually for 45. We immediately realized that after council was already out of session. I immediately called him the next morning. He has been notified, so I apologize that my numbers were confused.
And we're gonna back pay him, right?
That is correct.
Any other comment or question, council? Hearing none, chair will call the question. All those in favor of adjusting the wages of Marty Peterson as the Park Cemetery Superintendent to the correct starting wage of $54,100.80 effective April 17th, 2023, would you please say aye? Aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 2. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. Rental agreement with Grossberg Implement for a 6175M tractor.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Councilman Sprinkle has made a motion to approve the rental agreement with Grossenberg Implement for a 6175M tractor. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Frank. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Jensen,
I
the
would
floor is
just want
yours.
council to know that I had reviewed the document. It's an appropriate rental form. Everything appears to be in order. My understanding is that the purchase or the rent is actually being done through the city of Winter, primarily for the airport, but it's available for use for all departments because it's just going to be a per hour rental. There's no other charge for it other than a per hour usage as the tractor is utilized.
What was the need, or
You're free to ask.
the airport?
If I may, what
Yeah, it does fall under airport. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Councilman.
Dave Frank,
Dave Howard.
Dave Howard, I am really bad at names tonight and titles, so I really apologize. Dave Howard had approached and it went before committee to discuss, they're getting bigger planes out there, and he is in charge of moving those planes from time to time, and his small tractor that he currently owns can't move all of the aircraft. The city does have a tractor out there that was purchased through FFA funds, but it is a loader tractor, and that makes it hard to move the equipment around in the hangar with that bucket on the front of it. So he had asked if this would be available, especially during hunting season when those larger aircraft come in.
Other questions, council? Okay, hearing
Is this-
none.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
Is
Councilman
this
Quinn.
indefinite? Or, I mean,
It's a one-year
One-year deal.
okay. 1
just
year.
for this year.
Yep, thanks.
We can talk the dollar per hour for that, can't we?
It's in the contract.
Yeah, it's, is that 160 horse or 100,
155,
It's a 175.
175 horse?
155 horsepower tractor is what the thing says,
Okay,
don't it?
155.
So yeah,
That'd be about 34.
the agreement is, it does say 155, but on the actual rental agreement, the tractor that Dave had discussed with them, it's my understanding it is 175, so it'd be 25 cents times 175 equals what it is per hour. And that's per hour on the engine, not per hour sitting at our facility.
Council, any other comment, input, questions? Okay, hearing none, Chair will call the question by roll call vote. Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Councilman Clay,
Yep.
Councilman Schramm,
Aye.
Councilman Clint,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass with a unanimous 6-0 vote. Item number 3. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to move $41,018 from general fund contingency to fire department equipment for the repairs and equipment upgrades to the city sirens.
Is there a second to Councilman Schramm's motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Schramm has made a motion to move $41,018 from the general fund contingency to the fire department equipment line for the repairs and equipment upgrades of the city sirens. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comment or questions.
They need to work.
Is
I
there
agree,
any other
yeah.
way to get them to work without spending all this money?
That's what they told us.
I don't know. I've heard.
I'm gonna call on Public Safety Commissioner Day to inform the public and you as council.
When we did the testing on the sirens, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, we found that there were 3 sirens that were not acting appropriately. One we found to be the batteries, so that we replaced. The other 2 sirens, the gentleman was actually in Chamberlain, so he just ran down here and looked at them, and 2 were not working. One did not go off at all. The other blipped rather than the constant. And what he told us was, in his 30-year career, the first one that he ever worked on was the one that was no longer working, put into the city of Winter in, I believe he said, 1982. So it is a 40-year-old siren. He said they do not make parts for them anymore. If he could find them, it would be almost as expensive as replacing it. So what he did is he has a good refurbished one. So this price reflects a refurbished one as well as a new one, with them coming down and installing the new siren. Yours did work. I sat there personally. So, but the other 2 did not, and with us coming into tornado season, this is where we felt this is somewhat of an emergent situation to make sure that these work.
And if I may just quickly address,
Absolutely.
it's not somewhat of an emergent situation, it is an emergent situation under the way the term is defined under South Dakota law, because of the necessity of having this and the emergency that created by not having them working. I have authorized the emergent kick-in of the emergency procedures, so there's no requirement of going out with comparison of additional quotes or bids. This is going back to the dealer that we have always dealt with in the city, and no need to delay any further. We need to get them fixed, and the law supports that.
Great. I appreciate your legal opinion on that. That was the repairman you said you brought down?
Yeah.
I've just visited with Paul Sheets, and he feels that there's ways to get them working. I think you visited with him too also.
Not on this one,
Yeah.
because when he came down, he said, your 2 are done. The 3rd one we got working through the batteries, but with it being a 1982 model, he said this thing is dead in the water, because it did not even go off.
I don't know. Paul just felt very confident that he could get it to work, but he's really good at duct tape patch and stuff too, but not that we don't need it, but.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And then going forward, just so council is aware, this is something that we are going to be looking into and visiting with as well, to make sure that we don't find ourselves in this position again, and start looking at kind of what we've been trying to do throughout the city, is looking at rotations, figuring out the average lifespan of these, and then replacing them as needed before we get into this emergent situation.
I would have just thought this is something that we could have been a little more aware of and budgeted for, is my point.
They worked last year. They didn't work this year.
They were
so
still
that's where-
39 years ago last year, though.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other input?
Mr. Mayor, I was asked to provide where the contingency fund sat.
Very good.
So, what you have in front of you, nothing has been used, this is in your packets, nothing has currently been used out of your $300,000 contingency. However, you do have several notes that have come from your committee meetings where people have asked for it, but has not officially been transferred because you're wanting to wait till the end of the year to see where they are. There are 4 items there. City attorney has requested approximately $3,000 more due to the 7% raises. Administration building has requested approximately $2,000 more. Finance office approximately $9,000 more. Again, due to the 7% versus the 3.5% in raises that were not budgeted for. And then the final one is for the streets mill and overlay. It came in approximately $121,440 higher than the $600,000 budget. So with all of that added together, if you spent all of that plus the $41,000, you would still have $123,542 in your contingency.
One more time, the budget.
$123,542.
Left.
Correct.
We're gonna have pieces.
You may want to check that, seeing as how I've struggled with names tonight, though.
I couldn't write quite fast enough. What was the streets part?
Streets was $121,440.
Then I'm missing, oh, the others were rough numbers, the 3, the 2, and the 9.
Approximately 9,
Okay.
approximately 2, approximately 3, and then this is $41,018. So that comes out to
Okay.
$176,458.
Council and public, I'd like to address this real quick. When it came to me that the sirens failed their test this year, and we had no chance of putting it together, I declared with Mr. Jensen's assistant this to be an emergency situation. We are elected, and I'm elected not to take any chances with the lives of the people in the city of Winter. I think most of you would agree that this has to be there, and we can't rely on duct tape and twists. And when it's time and something like this arises, it's our duty to make sure that we get this fixed ASAP for everybody concerned. If there are no further questions or comments, I would like to go ahead and call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Frank?
Yes.
Councilman Clay?
Yes.
Councilman Schramm?
Aye.
Councilman Klent?
Yes.
Councilman Hockett?
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle?
Yes.
The ayes have it. This vote passes unanimously, 6-0. Item number 4, council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve $41,018 to Frontline Warning Systems. I think Paul already did his part there.
Yeah. Is there a second to the Councilman Klent's motion?
Second.
Councilman Klent has made a motion to approve $41,018 to Frontline Warning System purchase, and that motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. Floor is open to comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
So what you have in front of you are the quotes that were initially submitted. Both of them do have a mobilization. Public Safety Commissioner has notified me that when he spoke to the gentleman, they will only charge one mobilization. So that's why one is crossed out underneath there. So it still comes to the $41,18. The other thing to note is this is not a hard contract with them. They did not provide us a contract. It does say at the bottom, so I want council to be aware. Quote only, subject to availability and terms listed above. So if anything changes from this, we would request a change order at that time, since this is council approving it at that number with the emergency exemption.
Any other comment or questions?
So, Mr. Mayor, we can back out of this if it comes out to be 58,000?
Based on the items that they listed on there, that's their projected cost to replace those units, those 2 units. It's not going to be substantially higher. It could be hours worked. I think there's hours on there that could vary.
But I'll ask my question again. We can back out of this if it's more money than we think we want to spend.
Certainly,
When I did visit with him too, I said, we need a binding quote. He said, I am plumb comfortable standing by this quote. I said, so what you're telling me is it will not go higher than this, but if you spend less time at it, we can go lower, and he said that is correct.
If you are more comfortable, it would be plumb okay to have the motion set this as a limit on the amount that would be authorized without coming back to council if it's higher.
But we can get into a real back and forth on that if it ends up being 42,000 instead of
You could.
41.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what do you do? If we have the ability, when he comes in and says, it's 63,000, sorry,
Yep.
we can say no.
We can.
Okay, that's all I want to be sure of.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
So
go ahead, Councilman Klein.
am I understanding this? The work is not done? Okay. So we just did a quote with one company instead of put out for bids?
Yeah, Mr. Jensen was explaining that.
I thought, when he said that, I thought meant that the work was done. It was emergent, and we
No.
had him do it right then and there.
No, because of the emergency situation and the nature of those alert systems, in the timeliness to get those replaced, we declared it an emergency situation, and that allows us to circumvent the bid process.
One more.
Councilman
Last year, Mr. Mayor, when we did our test,
Yes, sir.
we had 2 or 3 of them then that didn't work. Are these the same 2 or 3, Justin?
No, what those ended up being is he actually had a conversation with actually our maintenance gentleman down at the jail, and he walked him through quite a few fixes that ended up fixing 2 of the 3, and then he had to run down here and look at that third one, and that one he had to replace like some board. But this one now,
Those
2
were
new
all
ones.
different than what we have this year.
Yes, those were
Thank
2
you.
other ones that have since failed.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing no further questions. Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Schramm,
Maybe. Aye.
Councilman Clunt.
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0.
5-1 and maybe.
Item number 5 under new business. Council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve change order number 1 to Direct Technologies in the amount of $3,049.20 for project number 1106 at the Law Enforcement Center. We needed to have changes that we didn't tell them about in advance.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Councilman Schramm has made a motion to approve change order number 1 to Direct Technologies in the amount of $3,049.20 for project number 1106 at the Law Enforcement Center. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. The floor is yours, Councilman Schramm. I didn't know if you wanted to add that again.
No.
Okay.
I already made my comment. Yeah.
Gotcha. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the
I have a lot of comments, but I can just be quiet, because my question is, why didn't we tell them in advance?
Didn't know until we got in.
We didn't know, it was found out later. There was a dark spot camera that we didn't know was there or something, or?
Justin, yep.
You're gonna see that there's actually 2 change orders on this one. This first one was actually, the PO was written December 5th of last year. This had to do with software, so we didn't actually technically even think it was part of this project because we had Windows software from 2012, and we knew that the project was upcoming, and we didn't want to risk running this software with all of our new equipment. So we had it in the budget to run last year. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was on my end or what happened. So this one, yeah,
This one is a software?
yes, this one is the software. The second one that you're gonna see, I don't know if I
That's
can
the
talk
camera,
about that
the
yet.
second
No.
one.
Okay, I'll talk about that one when we get there.
Yes.
This one is software to update to run off all the new equipment that we are currently getting.
And this was a PO that went through on December 15th of last year?
5th is when the
Fifth.
PO was written.
And wasn't ever paid then, or something?
I think we still have the bill, don't we, Chandra? I don't think it was.
Because they included it into the project, so we have
Okay.
not paid the final amount on the project.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep. So this one was foreseen and yes.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Schramm,
Aye.
Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
and Councilman Clay.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item 6, council, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 2 to Direct Technologies in the amount of $8,428.16 for project 1106 at the Law Enforcement Center.
Is there a second to Councilman Clunt's motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clunt has made a motion to approve change order number 2 to Direct Technologies in the amount of $8,428.16 for project number 1106 for the Law Enforcement Center. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Hockett. The floor is open to comments or questions, council.
And this is for that dead area in A8 cell, that included within this.
Yeah, that is
Blackout
included
area
in this.
that we didn't
What
have
that
much-
price is going to be is for one additional camera, and then for the licensing
12
and
licensing.
running some of the other cameras, that there was a few areas, once stuff started getting put in, we saw that we would like some camera coverage in certain areas, so that's where it's more for the licensing fee. Because we found out we were able to use a few of our older well, not older, they were the newer of the older, and they would work with this, so we used some of those cameras to hook back into this system, but they had to run some stuff to get them up where we needed them. So that should be for one new camera, and then the rest is licenses and running to where those new camera locations are.
Any other questions, council? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Councilman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle,
Yes.
Councilman Frank,
Yes.
Councilman Clay,
Yes.
and Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously 6-0. Item number 7, council. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to place on first reading of ordinance 1050, an ordinance amending chapter 54 of the Winter Code of Ordinances.
Is there a second to Councilman Clay's motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to place on first reading ordinance 1050. This is an ordinance amending chapter 54 of the Winter Code of Ordinances. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Schramm, and the floor is open to comments or questions.
I will admit, I didn't get to read the whole thing in its entirety. Councilman Schramm, have you read over this?
I have.
You approved, Fred?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sure you read over it for the legalities of it.
I wrote it,
Yeah, you wrote it, that's my
I
point, but
found
you
not
approved
one
it.
typo.
Okay, thank you.
only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would anybody on council want an explanation? I'd
Just a
let-
brief-
Please, sir.
Okay. Just briefly, this is a rewrite of several sections of this chapter because, number one, as everybody is aware, the city is moving to take a active role in the sanitation program with the acquisition of the structure on the east side of town that will turn into the transfer station, as well as taking over the recycling program that the county has run up to this point in time. So all of those things are recognized herein. We specifically are authorizing the use of the facility for the recycling program. We have, on the side of this, we have already had council appoint 3 individuals who will have the broker's authority in operation of the recycling program. You've made some changes to the previous ordinance that allowed the cash flow to be handled with some cash through the finance officer without having all of that having to come through separately on claims. We've gone into this chapter here and specifically spelled out the provisions for the recycling program. We then addressed what had been a significant concern for the city by completely rewriting the section as far as the type of trucks that will be authorized to be used in town for the collection of garbage. We've imposed a reasonable weight limit, size and weight, and implemented some penalties, and significant penalties in case there are overweight problems that hopefully will help to deter a lot of that damage that had been occurring prior to this point in time. We've made arrangements through this chapter here. We're in the process of getting the transfer of the county's DANR license transferred to the city of Winter, which allows us to operate under our own license then from that point forward for the transfer station, as well as for transportation of the garbage up to the landfill at Buckwana. That's all covered in here as well. The balance of this is very much not changed, other than the fact that we have pulled out of this ordinance any particular monetary rates. And you'll see that the next item up on your agenda following this is a resolution that establishes all of the rates, not only for your sanitation program, but also for the rubble site landfill, costs associated with that, et cetera. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what this does.
And that's by resolution, so we can change this as need, just to a quick resolution.
Correct.
Which you don't have to advertise and do first reading on a resolution, do you? Is that
No, it's
quicker?
one time.
Publish it and then just move it.
Yep. Well, and part of that is not only the fact as to whether you have to go through it once or twice, that's part of it, but the other part of it is, if it's an ordinance, we start spending a couple $100 with our publisher to publish these ordinances every time you make a change.
The whole ordinance.
The whole ordinance, that's right.
Which is Band-Aid. It's Band-Aid.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of placing ordinance 1050 on first reading, would you please say aye? Aye. All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion will pass unanimously, 6-0. Item number 8, Council, is there a motion?
I've made all my motions.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for Resolution 2023-7, a resolution setting the rates for sanitation, recycling, landfill, and garbage.
Is there a second to Councilman Clay's motion?
I'll second that.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to approve Resolution 2023-7, which is a resolution setting the rates for sanitation to include recycling, landfill, and garbage. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Schramm, and the floor is open to comments or questions.
Are I guess I didn't have the prior rates memorized. Are they all the same, or has something changed?
We asked Troy to review specifically some of the landfill charges, and specifically you'll see that we've taken an approach now that will be a little more reasonable for collecting fees for the disposal of roofing shingles that are going to be based on the number of squares that are being replaced at the project. And then, of course, we have a differentiation as to whether or not it's coming from a local within the city of Winter as opposed to outside the city of Winter, different charges there.
Question, multiple axle trailer and end dump tandem trailers. How do you, I mean, you can have multiple axles, tandem axles on a dump trailer, small ones.
Sure.
And end dump is a dump trailer. So how do you justify?
I'm not the expert on this,
How do
I
you
just write it the
justify-
way I was told.
You know, the difference there.
Yep.
You can still only have 55,000 gross weight.
On
Troy,
what-
do you mind coming to the
On what
podium and
trailer?
explaining that?
On any trailer, any truck.
The question from Councilman Sprinkle is, what is the difference between the end dump, dual tandem fee, and the multiple axle trailer.
Well, there's, basically, we don't have a scale, first of all, so we have to do somewhat of an estimating of size and loads. You got a pickup, you have a pickup trailer, then we go off basically what we see come out to the landfill. You've got a couple different sizes of end dump trailers. You've got single axle, you have some tandem axles, but they're only about the size of a pickup box.
Yep.
And then you have some tandems that are much larger than that. They're almost twice as big as that. The next thing that we see mostly is roll-off dumpsters or a dump truck. And then from there, you go to a semi-sized trailer and even up to a semi with a pup. We've had show up out there. So when somebody comes out to the landfill, they will take into account the size of the trailer. It's not just one size fits all. And we had that discussion when we were adjusting these rates, that the guys out at that are running the landfill need to pay attention to, how many cubic yards is a pickup, how many, what's the measurements of the vehicle that's hauling the material to the landfill. So there is a difference, yes, Ron. I know that those end dump trailers, they come in multiple sizes, and we'll take that into account.
Troy, is there a process or whatever for determining or proving that these shingles are coming from within the city of Winter? Because there could be somebody come from Chamberlain, that's a contractor that's down here shingling or wherever, shingling my house. And they're taking it out there and they're like, whoa, you're from Chamberlain, you gotta pay the out-of-town rate. How do they prove that?
So when they show up at the landfill, they're supposed to have a city of a copy of the resident's utility bill. And they
Okay.
present that to the attendant out at the landfill. If they don't have that, then they're considered out of town.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
The other thing that I would say, because we're still in some ways, and Councilman Clay, this is an important point, I think. In some ways, you're still operating a little bit based on the quality of information that the drivers tell us. Our ordinance has a criminal code provision that says if you knowingly give us false information, you can be charged.
We're sending Clay after him.
Go ahead.
And that comes into play, for instance, where under the new section here to provide for your roofing shingles, like Troy says, if he's redoing his house, it's 23 squares or whatever that number is. If you find out that, if you tell him, here's what kind of, if the driver tells us, here's the size of the project and it's only 12 squares, and by golly, if we send somebody out to check on it, turns out there's about 45 squares there. Well, they're not only going to pay us the difference, but we'll also get charged with providing us false information.
Troy, to simplify things, what would a reasonable scale cost us to put out there?
I can't answer
Do you
that
have
question.
any idea what them things cost?
15.
I
We've got plenty
don't
of
quote
room
me
for
on
them
this.
out there, but I don't know what they cost.
One for a
I
semi.
think Rosebud paid, what, 200,000 for that one?
Yeah, that one was there, that one there was close to 200,000
Yeah.
for a semi and a trailer.
That's a lot of dump loads.
Yeah.
But I don't know what
Let's just let them guess.
Smaller,
Yeah.
We can send
double
the
the single
code
axle
enforcement to
trailers,
measure
what
this
we're talking
roof we're
about.
working on.
It would take a lot of guesswork out if we had a little scale. I'm not talking the kind you're talking, but a smaller type scale.
But
That would go up to maybe.
the way that Rosebud
25,000.
Concrete set this one up out here is probably about as cheap as you're gonna do it, because they put it on a flat pad, so there's no pit underneath it. that when you get into putting a pit underneath them, and that's a lot of concrete work. So I'd say that the way that they did it out here is probably about as reasonable as you're gonna be able to get it done. But once again, I heard that number, 200,000, I think is roughly what they paid for it, but I can sure find out and see what that would cost us.
Doesn't sound feasible.
That's a lot of loads.
Any other comments or questions for Public Works Director Kruger?
What about the dumpsters?
So,
That's all the same?
I was just gonna say,
City Finance Officer's got that.
there's several things I'd like you to note on this resolution that's coming from changes from our office. First off, we are spelling out the sales tax will be added to all of these charges, so that's not only changing in our office as far as the garbage, but it's also changing on the landfill side. Before, we had a flat rate and we were manually breaking the sales tax out of that. Our new billing software, it doesn't work very well with that. I ended up with like $24.99 instead of $25, and it just, so it's going to be a lot more simple. And so those landfill loads are going to change July 1st, the same as what our sales tax date changes. That landfill is not in city limits. It is in the county. We do not charge city sales tax on it. We only charge the state sales tax, which as of July 1st is going to 4.2%. So I wanted you to be aware of that. The other thing we found in going through all of our garbage is we were eating the sales tax on our commercial accounts. We were charging the fee that Heartland was charging and taking the sales tax out of that. So we were paying that and not, so we were actually losing money on our commercial accounts. That has since been changed. We are now going to add the sales tax to that. The other items to note is before you had a 3-yard dumpster charge and an 8-yard dumpster charge. We've not had 3-yard or 8-yard in years. Heartland didn't provide them. They did at one point in time, I think mostly because the city had them at one point in time, and then as ours went away, we stopped having them. So that has been removed out of this, and we have added in the 300 gallon. That's added into both the commercial and the residential side, as that is available to both commercial or residential. Another change is if you were to get an extra tote, we will be charged a full rate from our contractor, and so we'll pass that same rate on to our residents that we would be charged. And then so if you have 2 totes, you're gonna pay 2 1950s is what that is. I think that was everything, the 300 gallons and the totes. I would like to say, just for the public, you currently have 95 gallon totes. So I know that all of you received letters saying that there's limited 65. What you currently have is not a 65, it is a 95.
Yeah, that could have been spelled out a little bit better in the letter.
I'm sorry.
Councilman Clunt, did that answer your question?
Still don't know if our garbage rates are higher than what they are.
Oh, no, I apologize, they're not. You were paying $19.50 before, that's the same as what you'll pay now on commercial, or on residential. Commercial side, for each one of those 2-yard dumpsters, you're gonna pay the exact same amount. It's just broke out differently into what's contractor and what city.
But you were saying plus tax.
Oh, well, true. On the commercial side, you're gonna pay tax on top of that, which I guess that does change it. Should have been doing that the whole
On
time.
the residential side, though.
Residential side, we were always adding the tax on top of it, so that wasn't hurting it. By state statute, if we we were doing it wrong. By state statute, we had it set, this was our fee, and we were supposed to pay sales tax on top of that fee. Our customers just got a nice little bonus.
The winner paid the sales tax.
We paid the sales tax and not based off of what their fee was.
Yes, my only concern is the public was told that we weren't going up. And this, according to this, their rates are going up. They're gonna pay more per month than what they used to. And they were told for several years they would possibly not go up for several years.
What's the sales tax, Ms. Phillips?
It's 6.5, well, by the time this goes into effect, it'll be 6.2%.
But the base rates are the same?
Base rates are the same. And it doesn't, that would not, the tax does not affect residential, it only affects commercial.
Councilman Clunt, any other questions?
No.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Clay?
the totes bring up a valuable, a good point, and like I said, the letter was a little vague and caused a little bit of confusion. I want to go to Troy for some clarification. The current tote size that we have now is a 95 or a 96?
So we have ordered 65-gallon totes. We have
Yep.
95-gallon
I was going to get
totes.
to that. What do we currently have right
Everyone
now?
has 95s.
We have 95s?
Correct.
And you've ordered 1,200 95s or
Approximately.
96s?
Yep.
95. And what color are they going to be? Gray, about the same color?
Same color.
Same darn thing.
With the
And
city.
then also you've ordered 300 65-gallon totes, right?
That's correct.
If no one requests any different, will be provided with a 95-gallon tote, right?
Correct.
The intent purpose of the 365-gallon totes is not to be chauvinist or anything, but it's the person that may not be able to handle a 95-gallon tote as easily, so we have a 65-gallon tote available on request to the city office.
So I just quickly go through
Please.
a real quick rundown on the garbage service now. Because the new contract, this guy has an automated arm truck. So the trash bag at the curb doesn't work anymore, has to be in a container. So we do have a lot of residents in town that or are single people or couples that just don't generate the amount of trash that they need the 95-gallon tote for. So we wanted to make that available. We have that available in the 65s, but it has to be in a container. We also have households that the 95-gallon is not big enough. So we are going to, we ordered 300 gallons, and we're going to use those in both residential and commercial areas.
Which is an increased fee to have a 300-gallon tote instead of a 95 also, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then on the commercial side, there will be the same options, the 2-gallon, or the 2-yard, 4-yard, 6-yard.
I've been asked this question. In most general practices, commercial, I'm gonna say commercial, if they've got a steel 2-yard, 4-yard, whatever size it is, they're going to be replaced with the same, it'll be a different brand or different person, but there'll be a steel dumpsters.
Correct, and the only difference will be the color. Heartland Waste currently has green, and we will be distributing brown,
Okay.
just to keep the confusion. The other thing,
Brand new, right?
brand new. The other thing for the public is, because this is probably my most frequent call during the day, is what you have at your residence right now is a 95-gallon tote. We will be coming to get it because it's not property of the city of Winter. We will be replacing it with a tote of the same size unless you request different. It will be the same size tote, but it will be a tote owned by the city of Winter. So, yes, we will be coming to your house to collect, but unless you notify us that you would like something different, it will be the same size tote that you will be getting back. Yes, Brad?
Do we know when that collection will happen?
I have a conversation with Heartland Waste tomorrow, and we're going to,
Okay.
the plastic totes are due to arrive here in the next couple weeks. And the metal dumpsters will be arriving 2s, 4s, and 6s in the weeks up till that. So we will be getting, I think, I don't know the exact dates, but I think it's the week of the 8th or something like that. We'll get the 2-yarders. The next week we'll get the 4-yarders. The next week we'll get the 6-yarders. And then I got to work out those particulars with Heartland Waste, but we want to make sure that no one is without dumpsters. So we will have something there provided before we take anything away.
Because there's a lot of people that may be at work at the time when you're wanting to collect them and they're locked in their garage or something. And so I'm sure communication will be key on that also,
On the residential side, we will probably drop off and pick up
at the same time.
at the same time, just to cut back on confusion. That way, when you come home, you won't have two totes
If
sitting
it's
there.
communicated, take me for example, my totes are inside my garage. And if I'm out of town, my wife's at school, good luck getting it. You're not gonna get it unless there's communication to the public saying, hey, we're coming to get totes this day, please have it outside.
So basically, the plan right now is to basically follow Heartland Waste around. And they typically do their pickup Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They do have a few Friday pickups, but we will just follow them down the street as they empty your tote. We'll grab that tote and we'll replace it with a new one from the city.
Service switch date is June 1.
Correct.
That was my main question. When you pick mine up, you will drop another one off.
Yep. You probably won't
That
even know the
should take
difference
care of
because
that.
it'll be the same color, but if you look close at it, instead of
should-
saying Heartland Waste on it, it'll say City of Winter and it'll have a pheasant logo on it.
That should satisfy most people.
Yeah, and that's gonna remedy the problem, you already thought about that, of me not being home, because I've always set my dumpster out Thursday morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we know there's gonna be we know that there's people that don't set their dumpster out every week. We know that there's people that are gonna be on vacation. We know, we'll get around. We'll make it right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Council, are there any other questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. And I believe I'm with Councilman Frank.
Yes.
Councilman Clay.
Yes,
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clunt.
No.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass with a majority, 5-1 vote. Item number 9, council, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-8, a resolution amending the personnel policy book, adding policy 4.6.5 and a corrections job description.
Very good. Is there a second to Councilman Schramm's motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Councilman Schramm has made a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-8. This is a resolution amending the personnel policy book, adding policy 4.6.5 and corrections job description. That motion has been seconded by Councilman Clunt. Floor is open to comments or questions, council.
Mr. Mayor, you have two policies that are being adopted into the personnel policy book. The first is the time differential policy. So one thing that we found in our new HR PACE role system is that we couldn't continue doing our time differential the same way that we were doing it. As it was, you were only paid time differential if you clocked in after a specific time, not if you clocked in before that time, and so there was some discrepancies in there on that. So this time differential, currently you have 25-cent time differential for just those random shifts in each department. What this policy does is it actually evens it out and makes it more approachable throughout the city. And it also then adds that time differential onto the overtime pay. So it's 50 cents for corrections. Their weekday hours are 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. For police department, it is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And for dispatch, it's 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. during the weekdays of that 50-cent differential. And the other major change is now it's 48 hours over the weekend. So all 48 hours worked on a weekend now qualifies you for a 50-cent differential. I did provide you a handout because I was asked, ordinance and policy asked for this and personnel asked for this information as to how it would affect budgets. Police, it'll be 49, 51, 44 above what was
oh, that's this
spent.
paper here.
Yep. 911, it'll be 8907 above, and corrections will be 24,136 above. All of these can be supported by the fact that each one of these departments has been short-staffed for already almost 5 months. So it can be supported by that. These are rough numbers, because this is a full year's worth, and so now we won't actually go live with this change until we go live with the new system, which will be middle of July. The reason for that being is I can't ask my HR payroll expert to manually add these hours in with the overtime now and still expect our employees to get paid on a Wednesday. There's no way feasible that that can happen in 12 hours, some days, some weeks we have for payroll, because now we're doing a minute per minute, we're no longer rounding, and that takes a full 8 to 10 hours now, and then to add this change, but it would be effective the middle of July. The reason I'm asking council to approve it now is so that we can give this policy to our system who's building it for us, and they can build it according to what council has approved for the policy. Any questions on the time differential?
I don't have a question on that, but I have a question on the dyslexia problem again. In the motion, I read policy 4.6.5. In the resolution, it's 6.4.5.
I just saw that myself.
So what needs to be accurate?
6.4.5 is the action
Then I would change my motion to
you amend.
Thank you.
be accurate. 6.4.5.
Councilman Clint, would you amend your second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The other policy that we're adding in is a new job description, and it's for a part-time corrections officer. What this does is it separates what a part-time corrections officer is from a full-time corrections officer. Right now, they only have one. By the only two changes in this job description is the number one, the position title that says part-time, and then on the very, very back page, last paragraph, it defines what part-time hours are. Part-time corrections officers can only work 20 hours a week over a rolling 6-month period, week to week. They cannot exceed more than 20 hours if necessary, but may not average over 20 hours. Oh, they can exceed more than 20 hours if necessary, but may not average over 20 hours a week through 6 months. And that is actually set out by SDRS on our retirement.
Any other comments or questions?
I wasn't at ordinance last week. Apparently, Ron set in for me, so this came through ordinance committee. You were there.
Yep.
Council's all good?
We'll find out. with the
In the
vote.
opinion? I just wanted to hear some conversation, dialogue, because I know nothing about it, other than what I just briefly read, so.
Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, Chair will call the question by a roll call vote. Councilman Clay.
Thank you.
Throw that in the rotation.
See what happens.
Okay, no.
Councilman Schramm.
Aye.
Councilman Clint.
Yes.
Councilman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Sprinkle.
Yes.
And Councilman Frank.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and this motion will pass with a majority 5-1 vote. Item number 10 under new business tonight, council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to table that. It's not quite where it should be.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second.
All in favor of tabling, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion has been tabled unanimously, 6-0. Item number 11.
I think that goes hand in hand.
It does.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote to table that.
Pull it or make the motion to table.
Councilman Clunt has made the motion to table. Councilman Hockett is second. All in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Item number 11 has been tabled unanimously, 6-0. Final item under new business, council, the claims for the city of Winter.
Good day for Mr. Frank to get in on the fun.
It's a first time here option.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to pay the claims.
Very good, sir. Councilman Frank has made a motion to pay the claims for the city of Winter. Is there a second to his motion?
not seconding that, that's way too much.
Councilman Clunt has seconded that motion.
Nice, real nice.
The floor is open to comments or questions, council.
Mr. Mayor and council, I actually had a chance to write on your claims list before I sent them out to you. You'll notice that anything that was over $4,000, there is an explanation written next to it. Auto Assist, that's a contract and a blanket PO. City of Winter Utilities, there's utility relocation engineering to DGR, a contract, monthly boring machine and potholer payments contract, SDPAA, that is our insurance renewal, our second payment of that, that's by contract. Inmate meals to Summit Foods is contract, and then pool bond payment is contract.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, Chair will call the question. All those in favor of paying the claims for the City of Winter, would you please say aye?
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, and this motion passes unanimously 6-0. City of Winter has no executive sessions for this evening, and Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Council,
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second to Councilman Clay's motion?
I'll second.
Councilman Clay has made a motion to adjourn. Councilman Frank has second. And all in favor of adjourning, would you please say aye? All opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it, this motion passes unanimously. The City of Winter is adjourned at 8:01 PM.